What would you say to someone who is thinking about like doing this kind of work where they are impact driven, they want to do any kind of activist kind of work? What are some realistic goals that someone can set? And what are like some realistic expectations about like the level of impact?
So this is something I get asked a lot in the sense that
Mm,
I'm constantly getting contacted by people who want to start something and are like, Raj, like, can we talk? Can you help? And the one thing that I will always say is, let's say you're starting a campaign to, like, I don't know, save all the world's crocodiles, right? Let's just pretend. Um, you want to save the
yeah.
crocs. You have to be motivated by each individual crocodile that you might save. Because if at any point, if all you care about is like ridding the world of like crocodile cruelty, you'll become so demotivated and probably depressed in the knowledge that that likely might not happen in your lifetime. You have to
Wow.
stop looking at the mountain that you have to climb and look at the path in front of you that you've got to tread every single day over and over and over again to potentially get to that mountain. And this is what I see happening all the time, right? Like people will say to me, they'll be like, "Oh, I really want to do like a podcast on like interracial relationships, or I want to start something for like young mums or blah blah blah." And they never get going. They never get started
Mm,
because what they're actually interested in is changing the world. And the reality is, most of us won't change the world. The reality is, most of us will just slightly change the color of the world in the community that we occupy, right? That is
wow.
okay. I think it's about learning to take satisfaction and pleasure from the small, tiny victories. If I started out saying, I want this to be a global campaign and blah, 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 it would never have worked. I still get demotivated like that when I'm like, oh, I've only got like 60,000 followers. Like, oh God, what about this? What about that? But my
Right.
very early focus was, if even just one girl's birth is celebrated with Pink Ladoo, it will have been worth it. So I think you have to be hyper focused. If you cannot derive joy from like that one crocodile, it's going to be a long battle for you. So I think that's what I say to anyone who's interested in campaigning and interested in doing this kind of work. It's the same for me, right? Like I wanted to be a human rights lawyer, but what I wanted was to change the world. And
Yeah.
I personally wasn't very motivated or inspired by knowing that if I had just done something really amazing on like one case for one person, that was enough. Like that wasn't enough for me. That wasn't it couldn't have sustained me. So that wasn't the right work for me, right? But it's the same logic. Like if you want to do human rights work, it's about knowing that like the glamorous, the unglamorous, the unnoticed stuff where you're just helping one person or one family or one animal or whatever is worth it. And I think that's where the true global movements come from, when you're focused on helping like one child or one person or one animal or whatever.